It was a quiet morning in Mountain View, Arkansas, when Rebekah Gould, a 22-year-old full of dreams and ambitions, disappeared without a trace. Known for her determination and charisma, Rebekah was a college student about to start a new phase of her life. But on a fateful day in September 2004, her promising future was brutally interrupted. What began as an ordinary day soon turned into a nightmare for her family and friends. The rustic wooden house where Rebekah was last seen held dark secrets. Signs of struggle, bloodstains, and a boyfriend with a peculiar story cast a shadow of doubt and suspicion. As the investigation progressed, disturbing details emerged, but the truth remained out of reach. As years passed, technology advanced and brought new hopes of solving the case. However, the killer's identity remained shrouded in mystery, leaving a small town and an entire family searching for answers. Who could have had motives to end Rebekah's life? In reality, a crucial detail had escaped the investigator's attention. This detail, which you will understand later, was fundamental. I want you to share your opinions in the comments. More than 15 years passed until a clever maneuver during the reopening of the case resulted in the culprit's confession. The revelation of the motive shocked everyone, as always happens in these cases. Rebekah Gould was born on April 28, 1982, bringing joy and hope to her parents, Shirley Ballard and Larry Gould. As the third daughter of the couple, Rebekah came into the world in a family already composed of her older sisters, Gabriella, Tiffany, and Danielle. From an early age, Rebekah stood out for her vibrant and charming personality, being a lovely child full of energy. However, Rebekah's childhood was not without challenges. Her parents faced problems in their marriage that eventually led to divorce, a difficult experience that deeply affected the three sisters. Faced with this separation, Rebekah, Gabriella, Tiffany, and Danielle found strength in each other, forming an unbreakable bond of support and companionship. The absence of a traditional family structure strengthened the sisters' union, who became inseparable, always ready to face life's adversities together. Growing up in Mountain View, Arkansas, Rebekah developed an independent and determined spirit. From an early age, she demonstrated remarkable curiosity and an insatiable thirst for knowledge. Her school years were marked by exemplary academic performance, reflecting her dedication and intelligence. Additionally, Rebekah was known for her natural charisma and ease in making friends, always radiating positivity and empathy wherever she went. Rebekah's childhood was also filled with dreams and aspirations. She nurtured the desire to attend a renowned university, with the University of Arkansas being her main goal. With this dream in mind, Rebekah dedicated herself to her studies with diligence, participating in extracurricular activities that enriched her education and broadened her horizons. Her determination was inspiring, and everyone around her believed in her potential to achieve great things. Even in the face of family difficulties, Rebekah never let circumstances define her. On the contrary, she used adversities as fuel to pursue her dreams with even more vigor. Her relationship with her sisters was a constant source of support and encouragement, and together, they overcame obstacles, building a network of love and solidarity that kept them united. Thus, Rebekah Gould's childhood was marked by moments of happiness and challenges, shaping her into a strong, resilient, and determined young woman. These characteristics would be fundamental in facing the tragic events that awaited her in the future, and that would eventually launch her family into a relentless search for justice and answers. During her youth, Rebekah Gould stood out as an incredibly determined, independent, and charismatic young woman. Her personality was vibrant and captivating, and everyone around her couldn't help but notice her contagious energy and willingness to face challenges. Living with her mother in Mountain View, Arkansas, Rebekah developed a strong sense of responsibility and maturity from an early age. In the house where she lived with her mother, Rebekah found an environment of support and encouragement. The relationship with her mother was close and affectionate, with Shirley Ballard always present to guide and motivate her daughter in all her endeavors. This unconditional support was crucial for Rebekah to develop her potential to the fullest, pursuing her dreams with confidence and determination. Rebekah nurtured an ambitious dream of studying at the prestigious University of Arkansas. This goal wasn't just a vague aspiration. It was a well-defined goal that she was determined to achieve. To this end, Rebekah began preparing early, enrolling in preparatory courses that would help her strengthen her academic skills and stand out in the competitive university admission process. The preparatory courses Rebekah attended were intensive and required a high level of dedication. She faced this routine with enthusiasm and discipline, knowing that each effort brought her closer to her dream. Besides regular classes, Rebekah participated in extracurricular activities that complemented her education and provided her with a broader view of the academic and professional world. During this period, Rebekah demonstrated a remarkable ability to balance her academic responsibilities with an active social life. She was known for her charisma and ease in making friends, always surrounded by a circle of people who admired her determination and positive spirit. Her friendships were a source of joy and support, and Rebekah deeply valued these bonds, knowing they were essential for her journey. Beyond her academic ambitions, Rebekah was also a young woman with diverse interests and an insatiable curiosity. She loved exploring new hobbies and activities, always seeking to expand her horizons and acquire new skills. This exploratory spirit made her a fascinating person, always willing to try new things and embrace opportunities for personal growth. Thus, Rebekah Christian Gould's youth was marked by a combination of determination, independence, and charisma. These attributes not only defined her personality, but also propelled her towards her goals, preparing her to face the challenges that lay ahead. Rebekah's journey to the University of Arkansas was a reflection of her unwavering commitment to her dreams and her ability to transform challenges into opportunities, a quality that distinguished her and made her shine among her peers. In 2004, Rebekah Christian Gould took an important step in her academic journey by transferring to Northwest Arkansas Community College, located in Bentonville. The decision to change institutions reflected her desire to seek new opportunities and experiences that would bring her closer to her professional goals. Bentonville, a vibrant city full of possibilities, offered Rebekah a challenging and stimulating academic environment where she could continue to develop her skills and knowledge. The transfer to Northwest Arkansas Community College was a significant milestone in Rebekah's life. This move not only represented a new stage in her education, but also a chance to broaden her horizons and explore different areas of interest. Rebekah was enthusiastic about the prospects the new institution offered her, from innovative courses to the opportunity to connect with professors and colleagues who shared her passions and ambitions. Parallel to her academic commitments, Rebekah maintained a long-distance relationship with Casey McCullough, a young man she had met earlier, and with whom she developed a deep emotional connection. The geographical distance between them was a challenge, but both were determined to make the relationship work. Rebekah and Casey found ways to keep the flame alive, taking advantage of every opportunity to visit each other and spend time together. During school holidays, Rebekah frequently traveled to meet Casey and also to visit her mother, Shirley Ballard. These trips were not just a chance to strengthen her relationship, but also to recharge her energies and seek emotional support from her family. Rebekah's relationship with her mother was especially significant, as Shirley had always been a source of wisdom and encouragement, helping Rebekah navigate the ups and downs of her academic and personal life. Each visit to Bentonville to meet Casey was a moment of joy and reconnection. Rebekah and Casey shared common interests and enjoyed their time together exploring the city, enjoying cultural activities, and simply being in each other's company. Despite the inherent difficulties of a long-distance relationship, they found ways to strengthen their bond, maintaining constant communication and building a solid foundation of trust and love. Rebekah balanced her academic responsibilities with her relationship in an exemplary manner. She knew that her education was a priority, but she also recognized the importance of nurturing her personal relationships. This delicate balance was proof of her maturity and ability to manage multiple aspects of her life with grace and effectiveness. The transfer to Northwest Arkansas Community College and the relationship with Casey McCullough were crucial elements in Rebekah's life during this period. They not only shaped her experiences and personal growth, but also highlighted her ability to face new challenges and seek happiness in different areas of her life. Rebekah's determination to achieve her academic goals while maintaining strong emotional ties is a testament to her resilience and indomitable spirit. On September 20, 2004, Rebekah Christian Gould's life took a dark and unexpected turn. The day began like any other, but would soon become the beginning of a nightmare for her family and friends. Rebekah, always punctual and responsible, had plans to meet with her sisters, Gabriella, Tiffany, and Danielle. However, contrary to her usual behavior, Rebekah didn't show up at the agreed time, which immediately generated a wave of concern among her sisters. The sisters tried to contact Rebekah through several phone calls and messages, but all attempts were fruitless. Rebekah's absence of responses was alarming, especially because she was known for maintaining constant communication with her sisters and never failing to inform them of her plans. As the hours passed, and with no news from Rebekah, the sisters' concern turned into panic. The tension increased with each minute, and the lack of news led the sisters to fear the worst. They knew something was deeply wrong. Faced with desperation and uncertainty, they decided to take more drastic action and contacted the local police, reporting Rebekah's disappearance. The anguish and fear they felt were palpable, and the need for answers was urgent. The Mountain View, Arkansas police responded promptly to the Gould sisters' call. A formal investigation was initiated, and officers began collecting information about Rebekah's last movements. The first 24 hours after a disappearance are crucial in any missing person investigation, and investigators knew that every moment counted. Officers began by interviewing Rebekah's family members, friends, and colleagues to get a clear picture of her recent activities. Casey McCullough, Rebekah's boyfriend, was one of the first people approached by the police. He informed them that Rebekah had dropped him off at work that morning at 8:30 and that they were supposed to meet again at 16 o'clock, but she never showed up to pick him up. This information led the police to examine Rebekah's daily routine and look for any anomalies that could provide clues about her whereabouts. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Meanwhile, Rebekah's sisters mobilized, doing everything in their power to help with the search. They distributed posters, talked to neighbors and friends, and used social media to spread the news of the disappearance, hoping that someone could provide some useful information. The local community united in solidarity, offering support and participating in the search for Rebekah. Every second that passed without news increased the desperation and uncertainty. Rebekah's family was wrapped in emotional torment, trying to balance hope with the harsh reality that something terrible might have happened. The initial investigations did not provide immediate answers, but the determination of the police and family to find Rebekah never wavered. The disappearance of Rebekah Christian Gould on September 20, 2004, marked the beginning of a harrowing mystery that mobilized her family, friends, and the entire Mountain View community. The search for answers continued, and the hope of finding Rebekah safe and sound was what drove everyone involved in the investigation. When authorities began investigating Rebekah Christian Gould's disappearance, one of the first actions was to locate and question her boyfriend, Casey McCullough. The police approached Casey at his workplace, aware that he could provide crucial information about the last moments Rebekah was seen. When questioned, Casey claimed to have no knowledge of Rebekah's whereabouts, which increased the investigators' perplexity. Casey informed the police that on the morning of September 20, 2004, Rebekah had dropped him off at work around 8:30. This detail seemed to corroborate what was known so far, as Rebekah was a person of organized and responsible habits. Casey also mentioned that they had agreed to meet again at 16 o'clock, when Rebekah was supposed to pick him up from work. However, she never showed up at the agreed time. The timeline provided by Casey was a crucial starting point for investigators, who began to map Rebekah's movements and look for any anomalies or details that might have gone unnoticed. The couple's daily routine was carefully examined, with investigators trying to identify possible discrepancies or unusual events that could shed light on the disappearance. The approach to Casey at work was meticulous, and investigators were attentive to any signs of nervousness or contradiction in his testimony. Although Casey claimed not to know where Rebekah was, the police knew it was vital to continue examining all possibilities, keeping all options open. Casey's response did not provide concrete answers, but it helped establish a point in time from which Rebekah was no longer seen. Parallel to the interviews with Casey, the police began tracking Rebekah's movements on the morning of the disappearance. They checked security cameras in strategic locations, looked for witnesses who might have seen something relevant, and analyzed phone call records. Every fragment of information was crucial to building a coherent narrative of the events of that day. The investigation also involved a thorough search for physical clues. Investigators examined Rebekah's car, which was found parked at Casey's house, looking for any evidence that could indicate her whereabouts or provide clues about what might have occurred. Casey's house was equally searched, with police looking for signs of struggle or any other indication that could clarify the mystery of the disappearance. Rebekah's absence generated a wave of solidarity in the community, with neighbors and friends mobilizing to help with the searches and provide any information that might be useful. Investigators, aware of the importance of the community, encouraged everyone to report any suspicious activity or detail that might seem insignificant but could be the key to solving the case. Despite initial efforts and Casey's cooperation, the investigation faced many obstacles. The lack of concrete evidence and clear clues made the case a difficult puzzle to decipher. However, the determination of the investigators and the continued support of the community kept hope alive that, with time and persistence, the truth about what happened to Rebekah Christian Gould would finally be revealed. As the investigation into Rebekah Christian Gould's disappearance progressed, investigators decided to focus their efforts on Casey McCullough's house, Rebekah's boyfriend. The choice of this location was not random, as Casey was the last known person to have seen Rebekah on the morning of her disappearance. Additionally, Rebekah's car was found parked at Casey's house, which raised even more suspicions about what might have happened there. Upon arriving at Casey's house, the police initiated a meticulous search for any clues that could shed light on Rebekah's whereabouts. The scene that unfolded before the investigators was disturbing and alarming. First, they noticed obvious signs of struggle inside the residence. Displaced furniture and broken objects suggested that a physical confrontation had occurred recently. These immediate indications increased the urgency of the investigation and concern for Rebekah's safety. During the search, investigators also found bloodstains in various locations around the house. These stains, still fresh, were a clear indication that something violent had occurred. The presence of blood is always an alarming sign in any criminal investigation, and investigators knew they needed to proceed with extreme caution to preserve all possible evidence. Samples of the blood were collected for laboratory analysis, with the aim of determining if they belonged to Rebekah. The most disturbing discovery, however, was made in the house's laundry room. Inside the washing machine, investigators found a blood-stained sheet. This finding was especially significant as it suggested an attempt to clean up evidence of a violent act. The presence of the blood-stained sheet reinforced the suspicion that Rebekah might have been injured, or worse, inside Casey's house. The blood-stained sheet was carefully removed and sent for forensic analysis. Investigators hoped that detailed examination of the sheet could reveal crucial information, such as the type of injury Rebekah might have suffered, and possibly identify the DNA of anyone else involved in the incident. The analysis of the sheet, along with the bloodstains found throughout the house, painted an increasingly grim and alarming picture. While investigators worked to process the physical evidence, they also continued to interrogate Casey. The presence of Rebekah's car at his house, combined with the signs of struggle and blood found, put Casey under intense pressure. He claimed not to know how or why this evidence was present in his house, but his explanations were met with skepticism by investigators. In addition to Casey, investigators began to expand their interviews to include friends, neighbors, and anyone who might have been at Casey's house or in the vicinity during the period when Rebekah disappeared. They hoped someone could provide an eyewitness account or any detail that could help build a clearer narrative of what happened that day. The discovery of signs of struggle and blood in Casey's house was a critical point in the investigation. This physical evidence not only suggested that a violent crime had occurred, but also increased hope that, with proper analysis, investigators could find answers about what happened to Rebekah Gould. Each new discovery brought the police closer to the truth, but also increased the mystery and gravity of the case. When authorities focused their attention on investigating Rebekah Gould's disappearance, Casey McCullough, Rebekah's boyfriend, quickly became the prime suspect. Being the last person to have seen Rebekah alive, and with several inconsistencies beginning to emerge around his testimony, Casey was taken in for intensive interrogation. During the interrogation, Casey categorically stated that he had no motive to harm Rebekah. He insisted that his relationship with her was loving, and that there had been no misunderstanding or conflict that could lead to an act of violence. The police, however, needed more than simple statements to clarify what had happened. Casey described in detail his last 24 hours with Rebekah. He began by mentioning that Rebekah dropped him off at work that morning, around 8:30. According to him, the plan was for her to pick him up again at 16 o'clock, but she never showed up. This discrepancy had already generated suspicion among investigators, who considered the possibility that Casey was hiding crucial information. Casey also mentioned that, on the night before the disappearance, his cousin Billy was at his house. He stated that Billy arrived for a casual visit, and that they spent time together, talking and watching television. This information brought a new dimension to the investigation, as it raised the possibility of another person being involved or having witnessed something relevant. Billy's presence at Casey's house was a point of interest for investigators. They immediately sought to locate and interview Billy to verify the veracity of Casey's testimony and obtain any additional information that could clarify the events of that night. Casey's description of the activities with Billy was meticulously analyzed, looking for any contradiction or detail that could be explored. Additionally, investigators began reviewing phone records and looking for any communication between Casey and Billy that could shed light on their interaction. The collaboration between the cousins was thoroughly examined, and any sign of collusion or attempt to cover up evidence would be a vital clue. Casey maintained his position of innocence throughout the interrogation, insisting that he loved Rebekah and was as desperate as anyone to find her. However, the signs of struggle and blood found in the house, combined with Billy's presence, complicated the case. The police needed to determine if Billy was actually present at Casey's house and, if so, what his role was that night. Investigators also considered the possibility that Casey was trying to divert attention by mentioning Billy. They analyzed the timeline of events and compared Casey's statements with other evidence collected to identify any inconsistencies. The analysis of communications between Casey and Billy also included text messages and phone calls, looking for any indication of a conversation that might suggest a plan or an act of complicity. The pressure on Casey increased as new evidence emerged and forensic analysis continued. The results of DNA tests on the blood found in the house were anxiously awaited, as they could provide irrefutable evidence of what really happened. The police also expanded the investigation to include interviews with Rebekah and Casey's friends and family, seeking to better understand the context of their relationship and any possible hidden motive. Casey McCullough's figure as the prime suspect in Rebekah Christian Gould's disappearance became a central focus of the investigation. The authorities were determined to uncover the truth, and each new piece of evidence brought them closer to solving the case. The complexity of the relationships and interactions between Casey, Rebekah, and Billy added layers of mystery, but investigators were resolute in their pursuit of justice. On November 7, 2020, William Miller, also known as Billy, was charged with first-degree murder. However, before that, there were several significant revelations and events that culminated in this accusation. After Rebekah's disappearance, Billy, the cousin of her boyfriend Casey, was initially interrogated, but released due to lack of evidence. He returned to Texas and soon after moved to the Philippines, where he lived for several years. Billy maintained an active online presence and began communicating with journalist George Jared and former agent Jennifer Butch, who were investigating the case. His behavior on social media and the way he was always up to date on the case raised suspicions. During this time, investigators reassessed his criminal history and discovered that he had been a suspect in a sexual assault in 2002 and accused of domestic violence against his ex-wife. In October 2020, American authorities received notification that Billy was returning to the United States to visit his mother in Oregon. Police set up a stackout and, after confirming he was back in the country, arrested him and took him in for questioning. During the interrogation, Billy initially pleaded innocent, but after much pressure and a long interrogation, he confessed to the crime, stating that on the day of Rebekah's murder, he was overcome by psychotic fury after seeing her in a nightgown and panties. He claimed he had no sexual intention, but investigators suspected otherwise, given the detailed description of how he saw her dressed and the fact that she was found half naked. Billy ended up making a deal with the prosecution to avoid a jury trial, where he could face capital punishment. On October 8, 2022, he was sentenced to 40 years in prison after confessing to the crime. Despite the conviction, the investigation was criticized for its initial conduct and lack of attention to details that could have led to Billy's capture much earlier. On October 8, 2022, Billy was sentenced to 40 years in prison. This sentence marked the end of a long and complex case that spanned over 15 years. The resolution of this case was only possible thanks to technological advances in investigative techniques and a crucial confession obtained through a clever police strategy. Initially, Billy had been interrogated and released, returning to Texas and subsequently moving to the Philippines. American authorities were notified in October 2020 about Billy's return to the United States to visit his mother in Oregon. The police set up an operation and, after confirming his arrival, arrested him for questioning. During the interrogation, Billy was initially calm and cooperative, even agreeing to take a polygraph test. However, upon discovering that the test would be conducted immediately, he began to show signs of nervousness. The investigators then used a technique known as bluffing. They falsely claimed, that they had found Billy's DNA evidence in an area of the crime scene that only the perpetrator would have touched, and also mentioned a drop of the victim's blood found in his vehicle. This pressure induced Billy to change his version of events, culminating in an unexpected and spontaneous confession. He shouted, "It was me. I did it," detailing how, on the day of the crime, he was overcome by uncontrollable rage upon seeing Rebekah in intimate clothing and subsequently killed her in a fit of fury. Despite his confession, Billy initially pleaded not guilty when formally charged with first-degree murder. However, fearing the possibility of capital punishment if he went to trial, he opted to make a deal with the prosecution. This agreement resulted in his formal confession of guilt and subsequent sentence to 40 years in prison. I hope this detailed analysis has provided a complete understanding of the resolution of Rebekah Gould's case. Leave your comments and opinions about this outcome in the comments below. We want to know what you think. Until the next story.